And welcome again to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. You can listen to us anywhere where you find your podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review, all those other great engagement functions you can do with the show. You can follow me, Chris Maz, on social media platforms at CFMaz and Shawnee V at SV The Don NHL. We're coming to you live now on a few platforms: Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Really smash that button on the subscribe button on YouTube, as we're literally brand new on there. We're trying to get that thing growing and moving. But tonight, we're really excited to bring our guest on as the start of the conference championships in the NHL are going on. I think the current score to the Hurricanes Panthers is 2-1 as we speak. And it's currently, the first period was all Panthers, but at the same time, hopefully it's a great series. But again, our guest for tonight, you may have previously listened to his past work on the Charging Buffalo Network. He claims on his Twitter bio that he provides mediocre takes on the Sabres, but we say otherwise. We think he's awesome. So he regularly engages with fans on the also regularly strange ecosystem that is Sabres Twitter, and gives us another awesome voice to look for great takes and analysis. He flies solo now, but he does a hell of a job. Please welcome Joe Marino.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Been a long time since I have been on a podcast of any sort, so glad to be back in it.
Hey, we're glad to get you back in the airwaves again, man. But again, yeah, Joe, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We always like to get things started with any guests we've had on our shows by having them tell us more about themselves. So, just first things first, right off the bat, what got you into talking about sports regularly, whether it's just hockey, anything outside of that? And what are some of your favorite sports memories, whether they're Buffalo related or not?
Oh, great question. So unusually about me, I'm 26 years old, so I haven't seen a lot of winning in my lifetime, unfortunately. So I first got into hockey in the 07-08 season. So I just missed out on those couple great runs. It really pains me to say that. I was flipping through the channels in my basement and hockey was on. I'm like, oh, this is cool. My grandpa's always talking about this, and it's an Andrew Peters fight. And I'm like, this is awesome. And I haven't missed the game since. So that's how I really got into it. I was in like third grade at the time, so everyone in my class was super into it or looking at hockey cards and stuff. Then you start playing like the NHL games, and then you can kind of really immerse yourself in the league, knowing who players of other teams are. So yeah, and then you start listening to the radio, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this. So I'm like 9, 10 years old, and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, and make it like my personality for the rest of my life, basically. And I pursued it, didn't really work out, and kind of going in a different direction. But yeah, so that's my background as far as sports and sports radio, journalism type of deal. And then as far as favorite sports moments, I'm gonna say the tank, unfortunately, was the highlight of my fandom.
That's quite the highlight right there.
You weren't in the building in that against the game against Arizona, were you?
I wanted to be,
Okay.
but I couldn't get a ride. I didn't have my license yet, so
That's fair.
yeah. So that was looking back on it, I'm like, oh, but in the thick of it, it was pretty fun. So that's kind of how it all started for me too, because I ran an Instagram account called Tank for McEichel, kind of spreading awareness for the tank. I feel
Love that.
a little ashamed looking back on it now, but that's kind of how I started like posting and stuff. It's been 10 years at this point, so yeah, fun times. But as far as like good Sabres memories, sports memories, that one year where they missed by 1 point recently, so that was a good couple of months. But yeah,
A few shining moments to say the least. But yeah, thanks for sharing that, Joe.
not enough.
I mean,
Not enough.
at least at this point in time, there's the Bills to kind of balance out the sadness of the Sabres. But hey, it used to be flip flop for quite some time.
Exactly.
And also too, so just going back to that, so that the 07, like your beginning, I can tell you that around that time was Chris and I, like we were like going out to actually you'll know that you probably know this place, Pages, Paradise Island on
Oh yeah,
Transit.
the
That was
Cove.
the Cove. So one of our friends who went to DPU with us, his family kind of owned and or operated those couple bars because they were all kind of in cahoots together. And we used to go even on school nights. That was the thing to do, was like we'd go in high school, go watch the Sabres plays, definitely like in 06. And then the funny other thing you mentioned, NHL, and my parents would probably laugh, but they'll remember this. I used to have dangle parties, which all that was, it's not anything weird. It's just we used to play NHL. Like we'd go over and get on the sticks, and that was like we did that all throughout college too. So that's funny that we have that in common.
Back when those games were good too, like the
Yeah,
music
man.
in it. Oh, they don't make them like they used to. Feel old
right.
saying that.
You're right, man. It's been probably at least 10. Well, no, that's a lie. It's probably 10 years since I really played it. Like I remember when Pat Kane was on the cover for the Blackhawks. I remember that was a really good one. It was maybe like NHL 13 or something like that. But like I even bought the. Is it 10? Okay. So yeah, so it's going back. But like, I even bought the game last year, and like, I played it like once, and I just was like I can't do this. It's just so different. But anyway, I have to say, Joe, so Chris Maz was the one that really got me into the world of Twitter about a year or so ago. So I'll take you back. It was actually right when we started this pod and before I went to Vegas to cover last year's NHL draft at the Sphere. It was awesome. But in that time, in the last calendar year or so, I'd honestly be lying if I didn't give you props for being absolutely one of my favorite follows on Sabres Twitter. So cheers to you, my friend. I have a little alcoholic beverage here.
I appreciate that. You only hear the bad, so
Yeah.
that really means a lot because I don't get paid for this. Like I was telling you guys before we went live, like I do this for fun, like making lineups and ideas.
Right.
Like people can be nasty, and I've come to learn to grow a pretty thick skin over the decade of doing this. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And like you said, Chris Maz kind of mentioned it, like you said before we went live, is just the consistency that you show. Like you're one of my. I even knew today before I knew we were going to be talking to you tonight. I just hit your page really quick and see. Like I knew you'd have a bunch of stuff up, and I was right. So just we appreciate your consistency, and it's something that I personally need to do better as like a newer person to X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So shout out to you. But one thing we like to do with all of our first-time guests is we like to do a degree of separation segment to kind of look at all the interesting connections we have in common. Not surprised at all to find that we share a ton of them, being that we're from neighboring towns, us being from DPU, you being from Lancaster. So no surprises. We kind of look deep into your past. Following Western New Yorker, I saw that you spent time, and I'm sure this is when you were a younger man, working at one of Chris and my favorite high school hangouts, sober sometimes, but mainly intoxicated, allegedly, a famed DPU high school hangout spot, Ted's Hots in Lancaster for the win. I also, like you, a little bit later, I worked at Local Edge for a quick cup of coffee, as they say in the league. That's actually a great. Man, you know what? I find this all on LinkedIn, man. Everything's on LinkedIn. People forget.
He swears by LinkedIn.
I do.
He does. Yeah.
I do. Well, hopefully all this is right, because if it's wrong, I blame
right.
your link. Okay, perfect.
It's right.
But so I did spend a cup of coffee with Local Edge, and that's a funny story for a different day. I probably worked there for about a week. But finally, to tie the work trifecta in a bow here together, great to see, and congratulations that you recently started working at the USPS, which is a longtime home of our dad, who we affectionately call Pa, or if it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, PA, because he doesn't know that PA spells Pa. But and now and our dad just recently retired and worked at the William Street distribution plant for too long, probably 30 plus years. So
40
years. A lot
years
of similarities, man.
That's where I did my training last week. Yeah, I just started.
Oh,
there,
nice.
So.
There you go. Shout out to Pa. He would have been training you maybe if he was still there.
You go. Yeah, he's now almost a full year retired. But either way, hey, we appreciate the Postal Service workers, man. So Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. But yeah, always love doing our connection segments because again, we always find out more about people than we would have never really truly known. And again, separation is much more close than you think it is. But again, here we are in another Sabres offseason in a year where the hope tank looking as usual, pretty empty. And Kevin Adams, miles away from having any level of respect from whether it's executives, whether it's the fan base. I mean, he really kind of shot himself in the foot multiple times after the Palm Trees press conference and just anything he just wanted to say publicly after that. But as we know, big offseason ahead for Kevin Adams and the rest of the gang up there because a lot of RFAs going on. We're still on senior advisor watch. I mean, hey, whether Lou Lamoriello really wanted to just get his nexus or actually, have a conversation with the guys over there, we'll never know. And then also Eric Stahl taking on his Dwight Schrute role. Who the hell knows what that's going to look like too. But Joe, again, you've covered the team for quite some time now, especially in your time with Charging Buffalo. I mean, what are your just kind of immediate takes on the team as far as like the current state of affairs goes?
It's just tough because, I believe in a lot of the guys that they have. They have good players. In my opinion, there's no reason why it can't work. For some reason, it's just not working. Coaching issues, maybe just not the right mix. Could be locker room issues. I don't know. I'm just as perplexed as everyone else. I know that it's pretty popular to kind of shit on the guys they have. Everyone's always like, hey, these guys suck. Why don't we trade them? And then you go one by one. Or I got their Puckpedia pulled up right here. I'll ask you guys, who are you trading off of this team right now? Okay. They're not trading Josh Norris. I know a lot of people hate him for some reason, but
the injuries, man.
Because he's hurt. That's his fault, right? He can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so he's not going. Tage Thompson, not going. Okay. Jason Zucker, they just gave him a contract. He's not going. And nor should he. Alex Tuck, give him a contract July 1. He's not going anywhere. Jordan Greenway, he's not going anywhere either. They just signed him. Ryan McLeod, give him a blank check this summer. Sam Lafferty, that's your 13th, 14th forward. Peyton Krebs, fourth line center.
You're under contract.
Yeah, you're shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic if that's your big summer move. Beck Mallin's that same thing as Krebs. Plays a good role. I got no issue with him. Zach Benson, anyone raise a hand? No? Yeah, I thought so. Yuri Kulik, again, are we trading him? No.
I don't think so.
And then that brings you to Jack Quinn and JJ Peterka. If you're making big moves,
they're on the block. I have been a proponent for a while to get them traded. Yeah, I've been a big proponent of saying would it be great to keep JJ? Of course, yes. But then you see all this chatter towards the end of the season, saying he's kind of feeling discontented, dissatisfied with the way things are going. Might be, and then you heard all those rumors of the potential trade to the Rangers. I mean, again, if that's all smoke and mirrors, sure. But I'd be fine with offloading Peterka if it meant getting a huge return, because obviously that's a big asset you're giving up.
Right. Him and Bo, I think, would be the two biggest ones. I honestly think Quinn, unfortunately, due to the injury and his performance, is not going to net you much. I mean, as part of a package, sure, but Bo and JJ are probably netting you something significant. Would you agree?
I would think so. Byram, he's got a cup. He's young, under team control for 2 more years. He's got RFA status for 2 years, draft pedigree too, and similarly to Josh Norris, he had that stigma of he's a CTE patient and whatnot. So that's kind of behind him now. So I don't think there's really anything preventing them from getting a nice return from Byram. I know that a lot of people think he's terrible, but man, he's 23 years old and got all those accolades that I just brought up. I think I'm assuming he's going to be traded this offseason, and if not, he'll get a 1-year deal and can ride shotgun with Rasmus Dahlin and then kick the can down the road for another year. But I don't think it's a problem if he's here next year either. We've seen if their plan is to keep him alongside Dahlin going into next season, that's a good pair. We've seen it but he's just not that guy where he can run his own pair, run a first power play unit. Like, he's just not that guy. I think he's a good complementary defenseman if he's in that role where he's with Darlene or maybe he's with Power. But hey, if you can trade him and you can make the team better, I'd say you do it. I like their forwards for the most part. I think you can upgrade it. Well, I'm assuming we're going to get to the big fish later on, but if you're making these changes, I think it has to be on defense for sure.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
Totally agree. Do you think? Let me ask you this, Joe. Do you think? I know you mentioned maybe the 1 year deal, and I do like it. I think that actually makes sense in the grand scheme of things. But like, is it realistic that they could sign him to any type of a deal with term and have 3 guys making 8 to 9 plus? On the back end, like, that's tough.
I think in theory, it is tough. I would have to do some digging into the later years to see how the cap works out. I like to project things like that.
Sure.
But with the cap going up, I don't remember who actually tweeted it, but he had like a good side by side comparison of what the salary that they're making, what it would be compared to a different year. I don't know if I explained that good enough, but like Owen Power's making $8 million right now. $8 million in 2024 is not going to be the same as $8 million in 2028.
True.
You're going to be seeing like the Bowen Byrams of the world making $9-10 million 4 or 5 years from now. So it's going to be a culture shock. I'm going to try and explain it this way. Thomas Vanek with that offer sheet, $7 million right now, $7 million for a top 2 line winger. Like, you'll take that all day long. But $7 million in 2007 is like $12 million now.
Right.
That makes sense. So,
well, even look at Tage's deal. Look how that's already looking now. It's a steal now already.
No, I think it was a steal the year after he signed it. Tage is on that contract till 2030. Like, that's going to be a huge advantage for them going forward if they can ever figure this out. So, yeah, there's going to be sticker shock in the next couple of years. So I think we got to prepare for that. But I think going back to having 3 big money defensemen, I feel like it's probably safe to say Darlene and Power are your 2 cornerstones, and just pick the right guys. Pick guys who can play. Put them alongside him. We know that anyone can play Rasmus Dahlin. You can probably put Ryan Johnson with Rasmus Dahlin under $1 million next year, and it'll probably be fine. And you can allocate that cap space elsewhere. Get a good partner for Owen Power. Get some good heavy guys on the third pair. Upgrade the penalty kill. It's not rocket science. It shouldn't be this hard, but for some reason it is.
Hey, that's beyond rocket science for trying to fix the Sabres these last couple of years. But yeah, completely agree with all that, especially when it comes to the defense. And there's going to be a piece on that I'll talk about later. But what's going to ultimately lead to a big piece of our conversation, obviously, the Leafs just had their epic collapse. Once again, another Game 7 down the drain for them. They have not beaten the narrative. The quote-unquote core 4 that they like to call between Austin Matthews, Willie Nylander, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner, of course, being the big name on here. Like, people wondering, is there going to be a big shakeup? What are they going to do to kind of ultimately change the dynamic of the team going forward? But again, we know they're paying all too well of just them being on the doorstep. I mean, look at the Bills this year. Just obviously it's an NFL comparison. The sports are 2 entirely different things, but the experiences are relatively the same. I mean, how much do you foresee as major changes going into the offseason? Who do you think would actually truly stay after the end result of this past Sunday's game? Or again, do you think there's the smallest chance that the Leafs are going to run it back?
Ooh, that's tough. I think Nyes is definitely going to stay. And then you're going to see Marner's gone. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. And I'd say it's like a coin flip on John Tavares. I could see him taking a sweetheart, hometown discount so they can kind of build a better team because they're going to have to replace Marner. That's not going to be easy. There
Right.
are some solid top 6 wingers out on the market. They might want to try and get a grittier mix because that seems like all the Leafs have done over the last 5-6 years. Any external addition, like they try and go for the grit at every single turn. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction they go, kind of overcompensate. Like, okay, we had all this skill, now that didn't work, so we're gonna go try do this. I don't think that's gonna necessarily be the right course of action, but hey, if you want to go replace Mitch Marner with Sam Bennett, for example, or yeah, go ahead.
That would totally change their
No,
dynamic for how
I
they
want
play
I
on
want
the
Sam
ice.
Bennett. We want Sam Bennett. Okay.
Sam Bennett's my buyer beware
Really?
this offseason. I think he's gonna get a big old chunk of change.
I think so too.
I think that's going to be a contract a lot of teams, well, one team will regret. In the end, he's a great player, but I wonder how he's going to do when he's not in Florida,
Right.
environment.
A
He's
supplemental
going
player.
yeah. Exactly. He's going from being a good complementary player, he's a second, third line center, and a team like Philly, who needs a center badly, they're probably sick of losing at this point. I think he's going to go to Philly or Boston, or stay in Florida, and one of those 2 teams are going to bring him in. They're going to be like, you're our new first line center. Congratulations. I think he's going to be way in over his head in that role. Now, if he came to Buffalo, which I don't think is going to happen, but he wouldn't have to be that guy. He would
Right.
be very heavily overpaid, I assume. But I don't think he's going to come here. But, we can dream. But I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything, but I'd just be a little weary.
Yeah, I like what you said about the Boston and Philly fits. Like he definitely like kind of fits like the culture of how a Philly team would play, or for that matter, the Boston teams of past have played. Obviously, not this past iteration of the Bruins, because obviously they were a shell of themselves and they were all too old and their prospect pool is totally drained. But at the same time, I mean, it'd be interesting to see where Bennett ultimately goes. Because, I mean, for all we know, I mean, Florida's now up 3-1 on the Hurricanes that are currently in this game. I mean, might find a way to be like, again, take like a cheap deal, stay on the Panthers if they end up turning into a dynasty of some kind. So
look at Reinhardt. I don't
yeah,
think
exactly.
anyone think he was gonna I would have thought Reinhardt would have cashed in, but he took a big old hometown discount. Was he making like $8 million?
Not to mention
scored 50 goals. Right.
Not to mention no taxes in Florida, no income tax there.
That's
so
true.
I mean, another advantage. So like 8 million there is just like if you're making, I don't know, 12 million if you're on like the Rangers or something, or for the Sabres for that matter. But still, a very interesting take on there. But obviously that leads to our next piece on Mitch Marner. So Sean, I know you wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, Joe. I liked your take. I've been pretty outspoken on Sam Bennett as being kind of like my top target in this offseason, just because I kind of likened it to when the Sabres were able to trade for Chris Drury. Just his game, like a two-way game. Obviously, he's shown a propensity to score, but he's also very good at the defensive side of the game. But interesting. I haven't heard anybody say that, so that's something for me to think about. But as far as Marner, yeah, he's going to be a pending UFA, obviously. It's already like the talk of the hockey world and hockey Twitter. But a few more drops may have to be, in this case, added to the hope tank. Many people pleading to the hockey gods for the Bills connection and his love for Josh Allen that obviously he's kind of put out there, and he's attended a bunch of different Bills games to come here, and he also being from Ontario, so he's close to home. But so first and foremost, I mean, would you think the signing, and albeit maybe a bit of an overpay, I think he's going to get a bag regardless. But if we could afford him, I mean, I think we might have to make some corresponding moves to send some salary out, which we can talk about. Would you do it? Would you make it work if it's a possibility?
Listen, if Mitch Marner is willing to hear you out, you listen. You make your pitch, and if he decides to sign on the dotted line, you make it work. they're going to have to do some salary cap gymnastics, if they can actually make this happen. Signing Greenway and Zucker when they did kind of hinders their ability to really use that cap space that we've all been waiting for them to use in a situation like that. But there are other guys they can move on from. We talked about Bo and Byram. You might have to go bang for your buck on defense at least. Like I think I mentioned Ryan Johnson being top pair. Like on paper it looks crazy, but you can put anyone with Rasmus Dahlin. It'll work out. So I think a lot of the projections that I see have Marner in at like 13 million. Now you're gonna have to pay the Buffalo tax on top of that. So or maybe 14. Expect 14 if it's happening. You brought up the Bills connection. If you can get, I think I've been saying this for the last couple of months. If you can get a meeting with them, Josh Allen's right here. You got one of the best athletes in the world, not even just in football, in the world, all sports, in-house. Have him sit there.
Not to mention the current reigning MVP.
Exactly.
Doesn't hurt either.
Right.
Yeah, have him give you the sales pitch. The guy clearly loves Buffalo. He's making a shit ton of money. He's right here. Have Josh in the room during this pitch and have him sell him on Buffalo.
Just make sure it's planned around the wedding, right?
Exactly.
The royal wedding, basically at this point.
And also keep in mind, you brought up he's right across the border. He's from Toronto. Just had a kid, newborn baby. You're not going to want to go to Utah,
right,
far away from home. So something to think about. I don't think it's extremely realistic, but I don't think it's out of the question. If they're willing to pay the guy $14 million and make some corresponding moves, I don't see why not. Like, there's also a lot of pride too. Like, I can be the guy to turn around the Buffalo Sabres. I'm sure a lot of guys don't think like that, but I mean, if I were out there and I can rewrite the narrative almost, like, I would put a lot of pride on the line for that for sure. I don't think it's impossible.
I mean, he's basically said in one of his press conferences, I think with Toronto, like a year or two ago, it says he feels like we're gods here among the city. Like he would easily have that and then some if he was.
Him and Josh would be the co-gods of the Buffalo.
Oh yeah, and I mean, obviously, like the other players would ultimately be elevated with him being there too. So. I mean, I'm glad you also brought up the corresponding moves, like because you already also kind of alluded to like the RFAs that are here, and we even had like brief discussion on JJ Peterka, Jack Quinn, you have McLeod, you have Jacob Bernard-Docker, you have Devin Levi, you have so many of these RFAs, which like can ultimately really just take up a lot of this available cap space to them. Not to mention the fact, like yes, even with this rising salary cap, you still got to ultimately pay Jeff Skinner. With this year and next year too. Those are his two highest cap hits from that buyout. But still, with these RFAs, again, a miracle hypothetical move to create more cap space is made. Who would you consider trading? We talked about JJ already. Would you waive somebody? Would you jettison Matthias Samuelsson into Siberia at this point? Because again, he seems to be one that obviously we talk about him all the time as he's basically become cannon fodder for us. But still, I mean, what will be some moves you would like to see as far as freeing up some salary cap space?
I think the easy answer right now for me, Connor Clifton's my seventh defenseman. I don't think you can really justify having your seventh defenseman making a little over $3 million. I'm sure you could find someone to take him, late round pick. He's only got a year left. Trying to think of like a comparable off the top of my head. You guys remember when Ilya Labushkin was here? They got like a fifth round pick for him. So if you wanted to offload some salary, pick a team like at the bottom, ton of cap space, fifth round pick. Anyone will take that all day long. They can flip him at the deadline for a better draft pick. that clears. That's pretty. $3 million is a significant amount to be able to dump.
One quick funny point though, just to interject real quick. Hey, if Kevin Adams can flip Rasmus Ristolainen for a first, hey, you never know what you can get for Matthias Samuelsson.
Matthias Samuelsson will, if they decide to trade him, they will get something good for him. I know
it's insane. It's insane to me.
He's been awful.
Terrible.
Like, he was very good that one year, and then he got hurt. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think towards the end of the year he was fine when they put him with Dahlin. We've said it so many times. Like, anyone can play with Dahlin. You don't need $4 million. That $4 million. So you dump Samuelsson, you dump Clifton. $7 million right there. That's half of Mitch Marner. So
yep.
It can be done. Remember, Jason Botterill is an NHL GM again. You drafted Matthias Samuelsson. And, oh, by the way, the Seattle Kraken have 2 first-round picks next year and the year after because of that trade with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So one would think that Tampa Bay first can be up for grabs. And I know we're not necessarily in the business for collecting more draft picks, but hey, if the prime motivation of trading Samuelsson here is to, get him off the team, but in this exercise, clearing cap space so you can afford to build a team with Mitch Marner on it, get a first round pick. Maybe you can flip that at the trade deadline and draft someone, who knows? But Samuelsson will get something. I know there's a lot of discourse like, oh, you buy him out and waive him. No, like, they'll get something for him.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, since again, defensemen often like you were saying, fetch a bigger price. I mean, we also talked about Bowen Burham, again, another RFA on there, and we already talked about his potential trade prospects. I mean, there was the chatter earlier in the year, would he have been part of like the Elias Pettersson package or something like that? Who knows if that trade is dead or if there's any legs to it at this point still. I mean, we were even talking about this on our show last week with Riley Reed of Q101 back up. Yeah, Q101 out in Shenandoah Valley. I mean, again, you have the ability to do this right now. These teams are not playing in the playoffs. They're able to trade with each other right now. Again, obviously, there's probably plenty more that goes on behind the scenes, but you also have the combine coming up in a couple of weeks in Buffalo, of course, but that will be a huge meeting place for a lot of GMs and executives just because that'll ultimately be the only time they're really going to be together because it's not going to be a live draft this year. So, I mean, maybe some more action will happen at that point in time, but still, like, you have all these RFAs. I mean, if you're trying to create space, you're trying to shake up the core, and talked about this a few times already. This core has won nothing. They've gotten close one single time the entire drought of getting to the playoffs. There's no reason why you need to continue to run your head into a wall over and over or put a round peg into a square hole with the same core if it's proven time and time again while Kevin Adams is GM to not work. So again, I like the fact that you're also of the mindset that, hey, find some way to get rid of these players. And ultimately, again, we've talked about this in the past as well. Kevin Adams is shown to do a solid hockey trade. I mean, we'll see if he can have the stones to do it again. But still, I mean, a lot on his plate this coming off season.
For sure.
This is do or die for him, too.
Yeah.
Last year.
You would think.
Come on. It has to be.
No way.
It has to be.
If they miss the playoffs again and they give him a contract extension, they just close up shop. Like, what are we doing?
Just move the team. Move at a time.
That French Connection statue might just burst into flame just out of sadness then.
Yeah. I know that, their owner is not the most intelligent owner out there, but come on. He's not brain dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's no Dan Snyder, at least. So
I would like to know where Kevin Adams, his own personal playoff drought, would rank in the overall NHL history of playoff droughts. It'll be 6 years if they miss again.
Right? He's on the list somewhere.
Yeah, he's got to be up there. So he's had his time. His contract is up. Lindy's contract will be up. Crazier things can happen. He's the GM after all. I don't think anyone would have anticipated that to happen, but this is the end of the road for him. So we'll see if he
Right.
starts acting like, okay, I'm a GM who's on the hot seat, because
Right.
he hasn't really done that. I mean, I guess you could say the Cousins trade was his first, like, okay,
Right.
I gotta
Shake it
do
up.
something here. But
Yeah. 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 That's a good point. And just to kind of tell them, I do want to talk some Amerks with you. I'd be happy to. Can we trade Clifton back to the Bruins? Put him back with Yoki. They can be a pair together. Could we get a second for Samuelson? I'd be happy with that. A first would be amazing. But yeah, I just think
at least a second for Sam.
Great. Sign me up. If we can get more than a second, I'm doing that today. Clear the space up. I said that hasn't worked out.
He signed till 2030.
I know.
He's huge.
Yeah.
He's 25 years old. Draft pedigree. I believe he wore the C for USA at the World Juniors. Like,
I believe you're right. Yep.
It shouldn't matter, but it does. Like, this is hockey people we're
right.
talking about.
We could fix him. He's done this. We can fix him. You're right.
That lame narrative going around, like, oh, they leave Buffalo and that's gonna do wonders for them. Like,
it might. It really might.
So we'll see what happens, but you're gonna see. Okay, I'm gonna assume at least one of, like, taking Marner out of the equation here, for a second. You're gonna see at least one of Byram or Samuelson gone, and one of Peterka Quinn gone. I think those are gonna be their big summer moves. They'll chalk up the Josh Norris trade as an off-season acquisition, because he'll play like 3 games.
Yeah.
So he'll be healthy. I don't anticipate any Rochester guys coming up in a full-time role. Maybe you'll see more of Roseanne and,
like you said, Ryan Johnson potentially.
Yeah, I'd say Johnson.
If Johnson's not up here at least half the season, I think it might be time for a change of scenery type of deal, because he feels like he's been around forever, for God's sake. But
he should be at least be our 7th next year. At least.
Yeah, and again, with him being another defenseman, I mean, he's got first-round draft pedigree right there, so he might also fetch you something too. So West Coast kid might get you somebody out of the Western Conference too.
Yep. I'll tell you what, Joe. I like what you said exactly about those 4 moves potentially being to expect either or, at forward or D. I'm going to make you a bet right now. If they get higher than a second-round pick for Samuelson, I will gladly take you to lunch and pay. You can pick where you want to go. Somewhere nice. We'll go somewhere nice. We'll go to Salvatore's. I'll fly into Buffalo. Well, I'll take you somewhere nice. I'll be so happy if it happens. So
Sean goes to Salvatore's quite a bit, so he'd be a man of his word there.
Oh yeah. Shout out to my buddy Nick. My buddy Nick runs the Chandelier Bar. So we'll definitely go there.
With Ted's hot dogs.
That's what I'm saying. No, you hang out with me. I'm going to take you to some high end stuff. We'll be good. But I want to talk some Amerks with you. So the squad's gearing up. We got a tough road trip ahead against Laval in the series. How do you like their chances going into Game 3 tomorrow night? Any player or players you think need to play on fire? Obviously, besides Devin Levi's been playing his ass off pretty much all playoffs. Obviously, it looks like a little bit of an uphill battle. Laval is played like definitely more the physical team, and no surprise there. I mean, the Amerks are full with a bunch of skill, high draft picks that the Sabres have put together over, the last 3 to 4 drafts, whatever it is. But yeah, what is your outlook for the series? Do you think they can get out, and can they go all the way? Because I know they got close last year.
I don't think there's any reason why they can't go all the way. Like you said, they got all these really good young players here. Kulik, I want to see him really take them by the horn. Like you showed you're an NHL player. I want him to I want the production to be there. I know he's playing well, but I really want to see that production out of him. Devin Levi's going to be in Buffalo next year. I want to feel confident when that starting lineup is announced on opening night next year. Because if he's like the day one opening night starter, I don't want to be like last couple of years. I don't
see what happens this time.
Yeah.
Right?
So third time's the charm, I guess. So I want to see Levi just carry them. I want to see Kulik and Levi dominate the rest of the way, carry them to a Calder Cup. Uh, I don't think Isaac Rosen has any spot here because there's just so many guys here, and maybe he'll have a nice career, but maybe he really has a solid Calder Cup playoff, and they can trade him in a package to get better now. Uh, Ostland, I want to see him continue to play well. Clegg has been playing awesome too.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, they got a lot of good players there. So I don't see any reason why they can't make a deep run here. But they got a good opponent here. Laval, they got a lot of really solid players. Montreal's had a war chest of
Right.
picks and
Similar.
prospects.
Yeah.
So, stylistically, they're a little bit of a heavier team. So we'll see if the skill in Rochester can outmatch.
Yeah, I was gonna say the physicality. Like I know, that's a big thing to outmatch with them, especially like height alone. Like you have most of these skilled fours that they're all the prospects in Rochester. Like they're mostly under 6 feet tall. A lot of them like right underneath that 200-pound threshold. I mean, the refs swallow their whistles like they really should during the playoffs. But I mean, a lot of them were just genuine cheap shots that they were rolling away with. So again, you hope that they can rise to the challenge and get a little bit more physicality on them. Like you hope, like your Brett Murrays of the team will kind of step up and be a force for them, while all the other young guys are just trying to out finesse the Rocket at that point. But still, I mean, I like what you're saying there. I think they have a pretty good chance as well. But now, just to kind of pivot some things, a little bit more of a happier topic as opposed to Sabres. I mean, not to say the Amerks aren't a happy topic. Like they're giving a lot of people hope, actually. But the Bills. So, schedule has been released. That was last week with their AI schedule release as well with Allen Iverson. Well, again, I thought that was pretty well done. OTA starting soon. I mean, not the sexiest time of the offseason calendar, but hey, Hallmark movie being made too. We got Tony freaking Danza going to be in this Bills movie as well. How about that? But again, with the schedule release coming out, I mean, obviously, if you're in Buffalo, like you're at least cognizant of something going on with the Bills. But have you gone to many games much, or are you planning to go on one this year? Are you all season ticket holders? I mean, how do you approach a Bills season on a year-to-year basis, Joe?
I am a huge fantasy football guy, so
Nice.
I've got Red Zone on every week. Even when the Bills are playing, I'll have a separate screen with the Red Zone on. So
God, I'm the same way. I love that.
yeah, huge into fantasy. So I don't go to many Bills games. Like I would rather watch at home. I'm not like a super rowdy like table jumper or anything like that. So I like to go to maybe one every couple of years, maybe with some family. But besides that, maybe a preseason game. I don't know. I don't have any game like circled on my calendar for the regular season. I like make the playoffs. That's all I really care
That's
about.
when the season really starts, right?
Yeah.
Right. Don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
Maybe win the division. Hopefully, you don't have to
Right.
face Kansas City and win the big one this time.
A 1 seed would be nice too. I mean, but that's been a lot to ask for these last couple of years. But I mean, again, with the Bills' recent string of success, I mean, what has been again this kind of circling back to what our earlier points were. What was probably one of your more favorite memories or like at least games watched where you knew like, hey, we're really on to something. I know the Dallas game a few years ago on Thanksgiving was a really popular choice. Was the Josh Allen coming out party. But what other ones have really stood out for you in the past?
As you said that, back when I was an intern at WGR, I was working Bills games. This was during Josh Allen's rookie year. And he came into the game, I believe it was against the Vikings, and he hurdled that first hurdle. And I'm like, oh, man.
Haven't seen that before.
Yeah. And, like, I wasn't super into football at that point. Like, I was trying to gain a much stronger knowledge of football. I'm still not there yet, but I'm getting there to the point where like I can actually like have a conversation with someone about football. So at that point, like I didn't know why people hated Josh Allen. Like I know people want Josh Rosen and stuff like that.
That was us. That was us, Chris.
Yes,
There's a
I
video
can
of it.
I can get flamed into infinity for what my take
We
was
watched it
on
once
Josh
a
Rosen.
year during the
Yes.
draft. I watched it with
Mhm.
Chris in Virginia. And
Yeah,
and
my
we
wife
watched the
recorded
video.
me. She'll roast me into oblivion, and I hope that video never sees the light of day. But at the same time, like you said, Josh Rosen seemed to have been the pick there for us, and we're glad to be infinitely wrong.
Yeah, so like and some of the GR guys were like you could tell people were still uneasy about him. But it was awesome. Like I went into it with an open mind in the Allen era, I guess you could say. But yeah, that really it felt like I know he had his struggles early on, but I'm like, oh man, this guy's cool.
Yeah, and just
Yes.
like his overall persona, I mean, he's just like he's always been, and he still is really now that he's got like this crazy fame and movie star wife to be in Haley Steinfeld. Like he's just this aw shucks guy, and I mean, and I think it was in one of Tyler Dunn's articles. He just like he just loves to have fun. He likes to tell dick jokes and just have a good time. But now, obviously, like he's the unquestioned leader of the team, and I think he's very much one to lock in quite a bit more than he ever has before. I think obviously we talked about this on in our last show with how the Diggs impact and how it like started and how it ended and how towards the end of Diggs' tenure, like his leadership, you could argue was like potentially questioned with Diggs in the room, but then this past year with the everybody eats mindset, you just saw him oozing confidence at all levels of his game. I mean, you could probably argue other than like the Texans game from last year, though, being his worst game of the year. I mean, despite injuries on the receivers, but still, like you just see this growth, like you said, from when you saw Allen as a rookie when he made that hurdle against the Vikings, and now just winning his first MVP award. Like you just love what you're seeing, and you hope again we have many more years to come of some just prime ability from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh
Like how
is
much?
what, like 28 now? Like
Yeah,
I think he's like about to turn 29. Yeah,
he's in his prime.
like,
And Joe, like, don't you wonder? Like I just to Chris's point, it's like how much longer can he keep getting? Can he get? He keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Like how much? Like he's got to plateau at some point. You would think, but it's crazy.
I worry that, and I'm not proclaiming to be a football expert or anything. I worry that like the way he plays. I'm not saying don't run or anything. Like go do what you got to do. Go win. But the way he plays, he's very physical. He gets into danger. I'm worried like he's getting up there. He's not old. He's in his prime.
Right.
But
he's getting football old though.
Yeah. He's almost in his 30s. Like, how many more great Josh Allen years do we have left? Like, you got to win. Like, you're in your window right now. You got to win because 15 years from now, I don't want to be sitting here wondering, oh, man, we didn't win when we had Josh Allen. We wasted one of the greatest Buffalo sports icons' careers. I don't want to see that. Like, and we see now how hard it is. Like, we know how hard it is to find a quarterback.
Yeah.
It took so long to find Allen.
The entire drought. They're just in the desert. So
now look at like Pittsburgh. Who were some of the other teams who are just in like
Minnesota? Right. I mean,
what happens when you don't have a quarterback? You're just basically irrelevant. You have no shot to actually win a championship. You just don't. It's crazy.
Like the Jets, like how many quarterbacks have they picked over the years?
You could even argue Miami, like Tua, like yes, he's been signed for an extended period of time. Like he's just one injury away from being out for good, and then they're in the same predicament where they were a few years ago. And even then, in this first couple of years, the tenure was rocky because Fitzpatrick was there. I mean, everybody just looking to supplant him. Obviously, the Brian Flores Dolphins are quite a bit different than the Mike McDaniel Dolphins, but still, like there's no sense of just stability there at any point. And then we were talking about this on our show last week again with Riley Reid. Like Mike McDaniel might be playing for his job. So again, the lack of stability. I mean, you could just look at the AFC East alone. Like New England's been just through a little mini journey of trying to find a quarterback after Brady left. So, I mean, like we keep saying, we got to appreciate the Allen era as we have it.
Yeah. can't take it for granted, but man, you got to win with him. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if they ever do,
failure, you don't win with.
oh yeah,
Josh.
if they ever get to the mountaintop and actually do it, like there will be statues of him or God knows what else throughout like the entire region. I mean, again, like we talked about,
Yeah,
goddom, or he would be a literal deity in Western New York. So, but to kind of start wrapping things up, Joe, really appreciate you taking the time to join us on
thanks,
here.
Joe.
It's been really great. So, but yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime. This was a blast.
Yeah. But just before we wrap things up, can you give the people here, the viewers, the listeners, a plug for where they can find you? If you have any plans on the horizon, whether it's just covering sports, maybe getting back into the podcast realm, or just even little things in your professional life. You just give yourself a little shout out, a little bit of plug here.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm still calling Twitter. I'm sorry.
Us too.
Don't worry, we do too. X just sounds moronic.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's Joe Marino BUF. I'm pretty active on there. I pretty much say whatever is on my mind. So, because the Sabres and NHL is always on my mind.
That's why we love you, Joe. Keep doing it.
I'm not really, I don't write really anymore. I thought about resurrecting my podcast, but it's a lot of work. So
totally understandable. It's another little part-time gig, you could argue, if depending on how much you put into it.
Yeah. So I'm not going to close the door on it, but the door is like half shut, I guess you could say. But if I ever decide to resurrect it, I'm going to make sure it's really good. Production value off the charts. I want to make sure that I don't want to half-ass it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it good. So, I don't know. Maybe stay tuned for that. Who knows? Maybe if they turn the corner and they're actually exciting to talk about. Besides that, I'm really not up to anything else. I'm just trying to make my way in the world, make an honest living, and, like you
well
said.
Well said. That's all we can do, man.
Yeah. And then, in my free time, I play NHL 25. I am in the process of doing a big roster edit. I do it every year. I know you guys probably don't play much.
Sean's an NHLer. He plays some child.
Like I said, I picked it up just like, what the thing is I enjoy, honestly. It's pretty much every sports game I play. I enjoy the GM mode more than like playing the games. Yeah. It's just I always have.
You see what the roster I'm making. You actually download it now. When it's up, you're gonna love it.
Okay.
I'm making all the college teams right now. I'm gonna try and make KHL teams.
Ooh, we're going deep.
That's a next level dedication, man.
Yeah. So I don't post the roster throughout the year. Like, I know there's some other good ones out there, but you won't have to buy the next game until like the holidays. This is gonna be so good. So
okay, I love it.
Stay tuned for that.
Hey, heck yeah, love that. Fun little anecdote with that. I think way back in the day, again, we got a few years on you, Joe. So one of the NHLs we had in our house growing up was NHL 2000, the one with Chris Pronger on it. We played the hell out of that one, and I remember that was just regularly just cycling in our PS1 at that point. But still, like we have some fond memories of some solid Chell back in the day. But still, Sean definitely dabbles. I tend to kind of steer away from sports games as far as video games in general. I'm an idiot right now. I'm trying to still play through the entire Dark Souls saga and eventually make my way to Elden Ring. But hey, here we are. But once in a while, I wouldn't mind dabbling in it. I just find to get extremely infuriated by the lack of realism in Madden. But hey, it is at the end of the day a video game. But I feel like when I get intercepted from a DB that's on the other half of the field sometimes, granted it was my own poor decision-making as a whole, like that's typically why I tend to avoid Madden.
Yeah, for sure.
You bring up NHL 2000. I actually had NHL 2K. It was just NHL 2K.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that the ESPN one?
Yeah, and the second.
Yeah.
There you go.
Game.
It
was great. I didn't know what I was doing. This was like predating my hockey fandom. I would just play the game, but Michael Pekka was not on the Sabres by the time I was playing that game, but he was my favorite player because he was the star on the team.
Yeah.
I remember the Wild and the Blue Jackets were not in the game yet because they weren't around. Just
Yeah, that would have been earlier. Yeah, if it was on Dreamcast, you would have just had it like right before the year 2000.
Yeah, so they weren't in the game, and I remember I was like, oh, I got to get the NHL 08 so I can play as the Minnesota Wild. Like that's like the child mindset. But yeah,
Love it.
good times.
Absolutely.
A simpler time of life. It's great, man.
No kidding. Yeah. But yeah, Joe, this was great. Really appreciate you having you on and everything. Hey, maybe we could do it again soon sometime. But folks, thanks for tuning in. Shawnee V, any parting thoughts for the good people here?
Yeah. As I kind of alluded to earlier, follow Joe on Twitter/X. He's a great follow, and you'll get a lot of awesome Sabres content. He's one of my go-to guys. So make sure you do that.
Yeah, completely agree with that. So again, folks, we'll catch you next time. Go Bills, go Sabres.